There's a kind of peace that only exists behind a closed door. No pressure, no expectations, no need to be on. Just you and your own space. And for some people, that doesn't feel like missing out. It feels like relief. But at some point, someone always says it. You should go out more. You're becoming too isolated. Is this even healthy? And suddenly, something that felt safe starts to feel wrong. So now you're left wondering, do I actually enjoy being at home, or am I just avoiding the world? Imagine this. You finally get a free evening. No plans, no obligations, your phone is quiet, and instead of feeling bored, you feel calm. You sit down, maybe watch something, maybe just exist for a while. And there's no noise in your head, no need to perform, no pressure to respond, no one watching you, just stillness. And somehow that feels better than going out. If that feels familiar, this isn't laziness, it's psychology. People who love staying at home often have a very different relationship with energy. For them, the outside world isn't always exciting, it's demanding. Every interaction takes something. Every conversation requires attention. Every environment pulls at their focus. So after a while, it becomes overwhelming. Not because they're weak, but because they're sensitive to stimulation. They notice more. They think more. They feel more. And when your mind is constantly processing everything around you, home becomes more than a place. It becomes a reset. Pause for a second. Think about how you feel after spending hours outside, around people, noise, and movement. Do you feel energized or quietly drained? That answer matters more than you think. Here's something most people misunderstand. People who enjoy staying at home aren't necessarily antisocial. They're selectively social. They don't avoid people. They avoid meaningless interaction. Small talk that feels empty, noise that feels forced, situations that require them to be someone they're not. Because when connection lacks depth, it feels exhausting instead of fulfilling. So instead of chasing more interactions, they choose fewer but real ones, and that changes everything.
But there's another layer to this, a deeper one. People who feel most comfortable at home often have a very rich inner world. Their thoughts are louder than the outside world. Their imagination, their reflections, their emotions. They don't need constant stimulation because they already have it, inside. That's why silence doesn't scare them. It soothes them. Being alone doesn't feel empty. It feels full. Full of thoughts, full of meaning, full of space to just be. But here's where it gets complicated. The same thing that makes home feel safe can slowly become a trap. Because the more comfortable you get in your own space, the harder it becomes to leave it. Not out of fear, but out of preference. And preference can quietly turn into avoidance without you even noticing. Pause again. When was the last time you said no to going out, not because you couldn't, but because staying in just felt easier? That line is important, because that's where comfort and avoidance begin to overlap.
There's also something else happening beneath the surface. Control. At home, everything is predictable. You control the environment, the noise, the pace, the people. Nothing surprises you. Nothing drains you unexpectedly. And for someone who feels overwhelmed easily, that control feels like peace. But the outside world is unpredictable, messy, fast, uncertain. And that contrast can make staying home feel like the better choice every time. Real life looks like this: canceling plans at the last minute and feeling immediate relief. Choosing a quiet night over a crowded place, even when you were excited earlier. Ignoring messages, not because you don't care, but because replying feels like effort. Spending hours alone and not feeling lonely at all. and sometimes actually feeling more like yourself when no one else is around. But here's the twist most people don't expect. People who love staying at home often crave connection just as deeply as anyone else. They want to be understood, seen, felt. They just don't want the wrong kind of connection. Because shallow interactions drain them, but meaningful ones stay with them. So instead of having many people around, they wait for the few who feel right. And that waiting can sometimes look like isolation from the outside, but it's not the same thing.
So, how do you know the difference? How do you know if staying at home is healthy or quietly holding you back? It comes down to one question. Does your solitude give you energy, or does it slowly take it away? Healthy solitude feels like recovery. You come back to yourself. You feel clearer, lighter. Unhealthy isolation feels different. You start overthinking more, avoiding more, disconnecting more, and slowly your world becomes smaller. That difference is subtle, but it changes everything. So if you're someone who loves being at home, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not boring, you're not missing out, you're not less social. You're just wired in a way that values depth over noise, calm over chaos, meaning over movement. But at the same time, your world deserves to expand, not shrink, because comfort should feel like freedom, not limitation. Where your solitude restores you and your connections don't exhaust you. At the end of the day, the people who love staying at home aren't escaping life. They're just trying to experience it in a way that actually feels real to them. And maybe that's not something to fix. Maybe it's something to understand. Because once you do, you stop questioning yourself and start creating a life that actually fits you.